Hey everyone, I do hope that you are doing great things. And again, we will be talking about the topics on the subject Introduction to Criminology. So I want you to fasten your seatbelt. I want you to listen, take the notes, open your book so you may able to easily grasp on our discussion. So for the disclaimer again, the pictures in informations shown in these slides are for general education purposes only. All information are provided in good faith, and the instructor in charge has no intention to claim it nor to own it. Okay, so our lesson is for the week 3. So these were the topics that I gave to you as your reading assignment: victimology and victim, theories in victimology, victim in general, models of victimization, kinds of crime, victim. Here is the description of the lesson. This lesson will discuss the emergence of victimology, the theories related on victimization, models of victimization, man-made and natural, and the kind of crime victim. So the intended learning outcomes of this lesson, the students will have to understand the basic concepts of victimology, identify models of victimology, and the kinds of a victim. Also, the students will have to discuss the concept of victimology in terms of its cause of becoming a victim, describe the victimization transition in its resolution, recognize the victim's kinds in different situations. While the target objectives that at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to explain victimology. The students should be able to explain the theories in victimology. The students should be able to define crime victim, and the students should be able to distinguish kinds of crime victim. So our topic will cover only, or our lesson will only cover 19 slides for this week. So victimology is defined as the scientific study of victimization. So the focus of this topic or this last lesson will talk about victim, how the victim was victimized, how the offender attacked the victim, how the victim received the injury from the offender. And the victimology also discusses the relationships between victims and offenders. It doesn't mean relationships means dating relationship. No. What is the reason why the victim received injury from the offender, or why offender attacked the victim? What is the relationship? Okay, what are the reasons, or what are the factors that contribute on the victimization of the victim, or motivating factor of the offender that urged him or her, or provoked him or her to attack the victim. Okay, so maybe we can find there is they are couple, perhaps they are friends, or perhaps because of jealousy, so meaning baka magkaribal sila. Okay, that is the relationship between the victim and the offender. And then also victimology discusses the interactions between victims and the criminal justice system. How our justice system will give justice for the victim and to give um, appropriate punishment for the offender who made the attack or who injured the victim. Okay, so how also our justice system will help the victim to overcome if there are any effects caused by the crime committed by the offender. A good example is how the victim may overcome the trauma who was a victim of rape. How can he or how can she rather bring back her way of normal life? And then also victimology shows the relationships between victims and as well as the media. So because of the media as well, may also help and may help the victim. We as well assist the victim and as well as inform the immediate kin of the family of the victims about the status of the victim and as well as victims in the cause of crime. What are the pain and suffering caused by the offender to the victim? What would be the appropriate penalty to be given to the offender? The consequence brought about by the crime committed. And then the victims and social movements will talk about the how our community reacts on the action made by the offender. How the community will also give or provide help to the victim. So here is the attributes of jury. Distinguishing first the criminology from the victimology. Because the criminology, the focus is the study of the offenders, study of the crimes, and motives behind the crimes. There you go. While victimology tends to focus on the victim rather than the offender. Victimology is determining who is the offender, how was the crime committed, where was the crime committed, what are the factors that provoke the offender to commit the crime. Samantalang sa victimology is more on the victim. So, criminology also is the study of how the public and criminal justice system responds to the offender, and the goal of criminology is deter crime and to give punishment to the offender. Punishment doesn't mean to inflict injury to the offender, but to give the appropriate punishment, such as once the offender charged and become accused of the case and proven guilty, will be put behind bars. While the objective of the victimology is to restore the victim to condition prior to victimization. Another is heal relations between the community and then also the offender. Because the role also of our justice system is to bring back the peace. The the relationship between the community of the offender and then the offender must have to be healed. And because once the accused when the offender becomes accused of the case and proven guilty thereof and put behind bars after serving the sentence, will be back will be will he will be sent back again to the community. And while serving the sentence, of course, there is a program that is being given to them to how they may able to mingle with the society again, to become a law-abiding citizen. So this victimology will uh, its objective is to bring back the peace in the community, to bring back and to restore the relationships between the community and as well as the offender or the victim and then the offender. If they cannot restore it, there might be a possibility that the offender who has that anger may again attack the victim. Or there is a possibility that the victim may get revenge against the offender. Okay? Another objective of victimology is to decrease victimization rates. Okay? It is better to prevent than to cure. Preventing the victim, those potential areas where people are getting victimized by the robbers or even those who have the intention to commit crime. And then also inform the people pertaining the modus operandi of the perpetrators or even culprits. So they may aware if they may, and then if they become aware, they know how what to do. They know what precaution actions that they may take, and that will help to reduce the rates of victim and reduce needless expenses as well and reduce suffering. Of course, if no one is being victimized, of course, no one will suffer uh, pain that caused by the crime. So here is the uh, crime targets that could two examples of crime targets. People who are being victimized. First, yung cautiously or knowingly. A person knows that he may receive a reaction when he initiate an action. Like in science, if there is an action, there is always a reaction. He knows that there will be something to happen or there will be a consequence if he will make a move or even action. Let's say, for example, the person or alpha who made or initiated an attack against B. Of course, the anger burst of B caused him to hurt A, and A received most the serious injury. Of course, you know that person he may get hurt you back when you hurt him. Okay? So that is cautiously or knowingly. While uncautiously or knowingly, this person doesn't know or I have no idea that he will be get victimized or he will be victimized. He don't know that area is prone to crimes. Okay? Wala siyang alam pero pumunta hindi niya alam na area na yon ay maraming magnanakaw o gumagawa ng krimen. Pero wala siyang ka-idea na ganun pala. Only to find out when he already suffer from the crime committed. So that is unconsciously and unknowingly. So cautiously, another example is when you place your wallet on the back pocket of your pants and you know that you are entering into a crowd place where there is a possibility that there are some thieves who are targeting those people whom they know that they can get money. And what you have did after placing your wallet, a long wallet, a visible wallet on the back pocket of your pants, and then proceeded to the crowded people. You even, as if it appeared that you even asked the thief to get your money. So you know that already. You know that there are thieves there. You know that there will be a possibility that your wallet can be snatched by the thief. Okay, so that is cautiously. But let me remind you also, if you know that there are something uh, bad to happen, something wrong to happen, okay, then you have to take precautions. You have to take precautions. Okay. Then, explaining scope of the theory, a person could become a victim due to his own action or fault. Are you amenable? The answer is yes. It doesn't mean when a person who suffered the serious injury considered the victim alone. Because there is a possibility that a person who attacked him or who gave him the serious injury might as well receive an injury. And the reason why the victim who received the serious injury was defending himself. Okay? So let's say, for example, Alpha clinched with him a knife, holding with him a knife, and then attacked Bravo. So Bravo has no way to escape but to fight back. So he disarmed the person who is holding a knife and then punched him with a strong hit on his stomach, resulting to vomiting of the person who initiated first the attack. So it appears that the person who initiated the attack received the most serious injury. So it appears to become a victim, but the most victim out there is the person who is defending himself. Because if he was not able to defend himself, possibly he might die. Or he is already dead. Okay? So the reason also that the person could become a victim due to his own action is because of the provocation. He contributed significantly to the criminal event. Okay? Let's say for example, karamihan dyan, paglasing, ayan na. Pumunta si Lasing doon sa mga taong nagka-gather, nagkakaroon ng masinsinan na usapan, nakisawsaw na itong si Lasinggero, binugbog yung kasama, isa sa mga nagkakaroon ng meeting. There is a possibility that some of them will go was already provoked and pwedeng bugbugin yung Lasinggero. Okay? That is another example. Another also is our criminal justice process focuses on criminals. Criminals are the key actors. Wow, because our criminal justice system will only focus on the criminals. More often, they are kept in the discussion. The criminals are being are the accused, and when I say accused, is the person who has been charged and accused of a certain crime that he must have to answer all the accusations against him. Okay, so these are the criminals who are being focus of the case. So there will be a examination pertaining and to prove the crime, all allegations against the accused, and the accused will try also to defend himself and to prove that he is not or she is not guilty of the crimes accused against him, crime charged against him. Okay. However, the victim is considered a forgotten person. Why a victim is considered a forgotten person? Nakakalimutan na tao. Yan tayo eh. Diba? After it was been, there's something happened to him and then nasabihan na you are a forgotten person. Dito kung bakit tinawag na forgotten person is just because nasabi na kanina, the focus of discussions in the criminal justice is the criminal or the accused. They are more on how they may convict the accused thereof or allowing the accused to present evidence to prove it's innocent. How about the victim? How may our justice system will help the victim? How the justice system may as well restore all the damages incurred by the accused or the offender? How our justice system will help the victim to restore all the losses that were losses that caused by the offender? What program or programs that may be provided by our government, by our justice system? Now, who is defining who is a what is victim blaming? They are responsible for the transgression committed against them. It is not the person or is not the offender who committed the crime, but the victim itself. Going back to my example a while back, when the person or when Alpha attack Bravo with a knife, and Bravo has no way to escape but to defend himself against Alpha. So what Bravo did was he disarmed Alpha and tried and punched him with a strong hit on the stomach of Alpha, causing Alpha to vomit. Okay, so the one who will be blamed is Alpha, because in the first place, Alpha who made first and initiated first the attack. Because if Bravo will not defend himself against the attack from Alpha, Bravo may die. Okay? Because you cannot blame Bravo for hitting and punching punching Alpha on his stomach, because he was just defending himself. Besides, there was no way for Bravo to escape from the attack. He has no choice but to defend and to fight back against Alpha. Okay? That is. Another also is when a person who joined the drug syndicate, and when that person who joined the syndicate killed by one of the members. No one to be blamed but the person who joined the syndicate. Why? What would be the mindset of the people? Bakit ka kasi sumali sa syndicate? Okay? No one to be blamed but the person who received, or no one to be blamed but the victim itself. Because he contributed on the consequence of his action that resulted him to be victimized. So, what is a penal code? Penal code describes the relationship between the victim as well as the criminal. As I said a while back, doesn't mean there is a dating relationship, but determining what is the relationship between victim and criminal. Magkaribal ba ang mga yan? Mag-asawa, magkaibigan, or it was just a acquaintance, okay? Nagkursunadahan lang, okay? So that is what you're going to know. Because we have to determine actually the cause and the factors and motives behind the crime. If we can able to get the relationship between the two, it may help the investigator to reconstruct and to determine what exactly happened. So, what is the distinction between victim precipitation, victim facilitation, victim provocation? The victim precipitation is based upon the notion that the victim contributed to the acts against them. This is also a good example, or a good example of this is the example that I had just told you. That the victim here who contributed and who initiated the first attack. Victim precipitation is also a criminology theory that analyzes how victims' interaction with the offender may contribute to the crime being committed. Okay? So the notion here is merong contribution si biktima. Meron siyang ginawa kung bakit siya nabiktima. Yan yung notion dito sa victim precipitation. While victim facilitation, it is a way as not to blame the victim but to blame the interaction that the victim has that makes the susceptible to becoming a victim of crime. It appears na the victim is asking for it. A good example is when the person wore his or her jewelries where people may or will catch the attention of thieves. So jewelries may catch the attention of thieves will lead them to rob that person, kill that person in order to get the jewelries. Kumbaga pinakita mo na lang na linatag mo lahat ng iyong alahas upang sa ganun ipakita sa mga tao, ayan na, pwede nyo nang kunin. Okay? Another good example is, you know that there are people or there are thieves within your area, but what you have did is you open the gate and no security measures installed. Parang sinabi mo na rin, alin na kayo, pwede na kayo pumasok at nakawin nyo yung mga gamit ko sa bahay. Victim facilitation is because of the lack of security precautions. Okay? You went to the crowded area where there are some or area where it is prone to robbery, but what you have done, you proceeded You even did not take precautions. So, ibig sabihin, tinulungan mo yung mga magnanakaw na mabiktima ka. That is a victim facilitation. While the victim provocation, that loser is more responsible than the victor for the fight that ensued. We have already discussed provocation. Provocation means the responsible or means that the loser is more responsible. Sabi nga doon sa ating slide. The loser is more responsible and than the victor for the fight that ensued. It basically means that if you were to randomly attack someone in the defending themselves, where you got more seriously hurt, then it would be your fault. Okay? Bigla ka na lang umatake, and then of course, there will be a reaction from the people. So they may get hurt you back. Nabugbog ka, mas lalong ikaw ang naka-receive ng pinsala. It's just because of your fault. And not them, but your fault. It is a big victim blame. While the criminal blaming, the responsibility is solely from the criminal. No one to be blamed, not the victim, not anyone else, but the criminal, but the person who committed the crime. Okay, so thus, he must be uh, put into justice. Next is the system blaming. The blame here will not be put either victim or offender, but the system. No one to be blamed, not the victim, not the offender, but the system. Let's say, for example, you are a tenant of the boarding house. No matter how you put the precautions or security measures in your boarding house or in your apartment, however, the house where your apartment is located is not surrounded with security barriers, which allow anyone else to get inside the perimeter. So one day, someone who went in and broke your apartment while you are at work and took all your belongings inside of your apartment. So the blame will not be shifted to the who committed the robbery, who committed the crime, but the owner of that boarding house. If the installed security barriers, security fences, that crime may not happen. Okay? Sometimes what is happening right now, they are blaming the government. They are not blaming the people who committed the crime, but the government. Sometimes also we blame the system. Like for example, in the institution, we blame the system. Bakit kasi ganito ang kanilang patakaran, ganyan, ganito. Okay? So that is the system blaming. Like also in the industry, they have their decision making, which that decision making put you at risk. Okay? Kung bakit kasi ganun yung decision. Kung hindi ganun ang decision, siguro hindi ganito ang mangyayari sa akin. Okay? So that is a system blaming. Victim's contribution to the crime problem. Actually, it is a vice versa. So, taking into consideration all kinds of situations to whether the people who were harmed might have played some part in their downfall. Sometimes a victim who made first day and initiated the attack. So what there will be a response from the offender. Sometimes also the victim made the action. Of course, there is a reaction from the offender. So not all the time that when the victim was injured, he is truly the victim. But there are also times that the victim is the one who contributed why he was being victimized. So it doesn't mean that he was seriously injured. Siya yung biktima talaga. You don't know, you even don't know that he was the first who initiated the attack, and the person whom he attacked just defending himself. Diba? So we will not conclude immediately that the person who seriously received the injury is the solely the victim. But we have to know the reality, the factual truth. Okay, so in line of our profession, we should not and we must not conclude immediately without knowing the reality and the factual truth. And there will be a initiative from the victim, and then response from the offender, and then action, and then reaction from the offender. Like I said, in science, when there is an action, there is always a reaction.